Hi, and welcome back to this free-for-all Friday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Number to call if you want to join the conversation, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Looking at this Obamacare, looking at this health care, just a couple of stories from today on that. The closer we get, the worse things are. Oh, let me mention this first. Do not ever think that we are not making a difference, that we in the Tea Party, we conservatives, we in Conservative Talk Radio, don't ever think we are not making a difference. I'm looking at a story here from Newsmax. President Barack Obama, again, this is part of that Chris Cuomo interview, and he says he talks to Republicans about this resistance to Obamacare and the effort that's being made now to defund Obamacare through the continuing resolution, which I support, I believe in. I believe it's the last chance we have to derail this flaming train wreck. Ted Cruz is doing this. Today, another member of the House of Representatives, Steve Palazzo from Mississippi, signed on to this effort on the House. So he's committed now. There's over 80 Republicans now in the House that are committed to defunding Obamacare through the continuing resolution. And another senator today signed on to the Mike Lee, Ted Cruz effort. So another senator, up to 14 senators now. I cannot remember off the top of my head who the senator was that signed on to this effort today, but now we're up to 14 that are committed to defunding Obamacare through the continuing resolution. Now, Barack Obama is talking to Chris Cuomo about the resistance he's running into from the Republicans. And this is what he told Chris Cuomo. Sometimes they say to me privately, the Republicans, I agree with you, but I'm worried about a primary from somebody in the Tea Party back in my district, or I'm worried about what Rush Limbaugh is going to say about me on the radio. And so you've got to understand it's really difficult. Now, what's he saying? Now, let's assume for the sake of argument that it's true. I have no way of verifying this. So he could be making this up because he said, look, this is all private conversation. But, it is believable to me that Republicans in the House and the Senate would actually think this way. This is believable to me, that they are afraid of the Tea Party and they are afraid of Conservative Talk Radio as embodied by Rush Limbaugh. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is we are having an influence. We are restraining them. They know they've got to answer to us. They've got to answer to the voters, the conservative voters, the Tea Party voters in their own district. And I'm telling you, I got a text message today from a friend of mine who was at a Tea Party event in our state with a congressman that has been kind of a little bit fluid on some of these issues, and apparently it was not a pretty scene for that Republican lawmaker. He was getting grilled. He was they were not happy with apparently wherever he was at on the issues. I don't even know what issues were being talked about. But we talked about this before. A lot of these Republican lawmakers, they're not even having town hall meetings this month because they are afraid of the Tea Party. That's why they're not doing it. New York Times is writing about it. The London Guardian over across the pond is writing about this, that Republicans, they're not holding town hall meetings, or they're holding them with very short notice in out-of-the-way and tiny venues because they are afraid of whom? Their own constituents, the people that elected them to office. So don't ever think, and Rush Limbaugh, I mean, he's obviously the big dog in the pound when it comes to talk radio. But he stands in for everybody that's part of the alternative media, that's in conservative alternative media, conservative talk radio, and conservative blogspot. So, that's our winnable war moment for the day. I mean, the Tea Party and conservative talk radio are doing what? They are keeping President Obama from getting everything that he wants. He's admitting it. He's telling Chris Cuomo on ABC, these cotton-picking Tea Partiers, this cotton-picking conservative talk radio, they are gumming things up for me. I cannot get done what I would like if it wasn't for the Tea Party. So don't ever think we are not making a difference. Now, back to speaking of the healthcare thing, Here's a piece on CNS News. Let me get to this stuff first. Delta Airlines, they are warning now. They're sending out letters to their employees that Obamacare is going to increase their costs by $100 million. Delta Airlines, this Fox News, Delta Airlines has issued an urgent warning about the impact of Obamacare, claiming the law's implementation will contribute to a roughly $100 million increase in healthcare costs next year alone. In 1 year, it's going to cost Delta Airlines. Remember, these guys lost $9 billion about 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, it's not like they're flush. They've got this huge cushion. It's going to cost them $100 million next year alone. This is contained in a letter from Delta executive Robert Kite to officials in the Obama administration. So they sent it to President Obama. A representative with Delta confirmed the authenticity of the letter. Now, there's another issue. Let's see if I can find that. They've got these, what Obama's calling a Cadillac plan for their pilots. Now, you understand that. I mean, if you got an airline, who's the most important employee? It's the pilots. They're the most important people that you have. So it only makes sense that they're going to be compensated at a rate that's above the stewardesses or the ground crew. You got to have pilots. I mean, that's everything. So they've got a Cadillac health plan, and that's going to sock them with these taxes because employers that want to take good care of their employees and give them these Cadillac health care plans, they're going to get drilled with taxes on that in 2018. And Delta says we just are not going to be able to afford it. Now, here's a story. Local governments, Washington Post, local governments cutting hours over Obamacare costs. This is a Washington Post. Many cash-strapped cities and counties facing the prospect of shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars in new health care costs under the Affordable Care Act are opting instead to reduce the number of hours their part-time employees work. Who gets hurt? I ask you, who is Obama hurting? He is hurting the little guy. These are people that are working part-time as it is. Their hours are getting cut back. They're losing their health insurance. Who gets hurt? It's the little guy. Who does socialism hurt? It is the little guy. Socialism hurts the little guy. It's the free market that helps the little guy. So everything you've heard about the two is completely upside down. Here's an example. On Tuesday, Middletown Township said it would reduce the hours of 25 part-time workers to avoid up to $775,000 in increased annual health care costs. Last month, department heads in Brevard County, Florida, were told to plan similar cuts in advance of the 2015 deadline. Brevard County Insurance Director Jerry Visco estimated the new mandate would cost the county $10,000 per part-time employee, or $1.38 million a year if all 138 part-time employees worked more than 30 hours a week. So they got to cut 138 part-time employees back to under 30 hours a week. And it goes on. They got a story out of Lynchburg, Virginia, about Chesterfield County, Chippewa County, Wisconsin, and the list goes on. All of them cutting hours of part-time workers under 30 hours. And here's a story from Investors Business. No, it's from The Blaze. Originally posted at CNBC. Mid and large-sized companies overwhelmingly expect healthcare costs to increase under Obamacare, and most are eyeing possible changes to their health insurance offerings because of a looming excise tax for pricier plans. That's the one that, for instance, the Delta airline pilots will be covered under the healthcare reform law, a new survey of employers finds. In fact, 40% of 420 companies surveyed by Towers Watson said they will be changing their insurance plans designs in 2014 in light of the coming excise tax, as well as to control employee-related health costs. And nearly 60% of the companies view private health insurance exchanges as a possible way to control their health care and administrative costs by shifting the work of insuring their workers off to those exchanges in the future. Translation, 60% of America's companies are looking at dumping their employees into government health care. That's what this means. They're going to dump them onto these exchanges where they'll be on their own, left to fend for themselves with these $9 an hour navigators. I mean, isn't that a joke? Illinois Illinois is hiring people. These are the same people that are out there urging fast food employees to go on strike to get a $15 an hour wage, because nobody can live on $9 an hour. So they're getting all these McDonald's workers and Burger King workers. You got to go on strike. You ought to demand $15 an hour. Washington, D.C., City Council, we're not going to let Walmart in here unless they commit to paying their guys at least $12 an hour. We're not going to let them in here. We don't care if it's 1,800 jobs. Doesn't matter to us. We don't want Walmart anywhere near us if they're not going to pay at least $12.25 an hour. Well, here, the Obamacare people, these are the people supposed to care about the little guy. They're the ones that are supposed to say, we've got to get wages up to $12 to $15 an hour because nobody can live on less than that. They're out there paying their workers $9 an hour to help you and me buy insurance, because we've been dumped into these exchanges by our employers because the Obamacare is driving up their costs so far. They can't afford it. If they want to keep us employed, they've got to find some way to cut their health care costs. So the $9 an hour and no insurance. So the people that are supposed to be helping us find insurance are getting paid $9 an hour, and they have no health insurance. I mean, just the hypocrisy here is just kind of staggering. Then one last thing, and we'll take calls coming right out of the break. So Sherry, George, hang on. We'll get to you coming right out of the break. This is from CNS News. The new Obamacare insurance exchanges haven't opened, but scammers already are abusing the system in order to steal identities, according to the Coalition Against Insurance Fraud. Crooks, this is a quote, crooks are exploiting people's confusion about what health reform means to them by weaseling into their living rooms, trying to pretend they're from the federal government, requiring them to sign up for what they term Obamacare insurance, and then saying, hey, all you need to do is give me your bank account numbers, your credit card number, your social security number, and then we'll sign you up on the federal roster. And these people don't know any better. And so they give away this confidential information. So identity fraud, you get these $9 an hour navigators who can't get any other kind of job. They're going to have access to all of our confidential information. It's a nightmare. Focal Point, AFR Talk.